No respect at all. I said I get no respect. No respect at all. That's the story of my life, no respect.
Nobody respects the Trapinch. I'm going to showcase some battles here where this little XL Pokemon wreaks havoc. All right, let's just jump into our first battle here. So I'm running Pidgeot, Buzzwole, and Trapinch together, and we are leading Pidgeot. We get a Medicham lead. This is a very good lead for us, and it seems our opponent is going to try to stay in and go for Ice Punches. And I want to keep my Pidgeot a little healthy here. I was thinking if they shield here, then we'll double shield. If they don't, at least we just win lead. So they do end up shielding. And I'm going to actually decide that I'm going to also shield. And then they bring in Ludicolo. I'm going to farm for a little bit of energy. They end up making a switch here to Charizard. And I could have just gone for the Brave Bird. But yeah, I also think this was an alright decision, but I should have just went for Brave Bird in that scenario. And then I switched my Trapinch just to kind of waste Charizard's energy, and it's not looking good at all here. They don't know that I just have a Buzzwole in the back that really can't do much to Charizard, so I'm going to hope that they just let Charizard go here, but they end up shielding. But to be fair, the fact that they throw the Blast Burn here was extremely clutch. It's hard for me to know if that was I think that was a misplay on their end. So I think this first match was a little sloppy on my from the way I played it, but we end up pulling off the win because we can actually lunge the Ludicolo. So yeah, that was my very first battle trying this out, and maybe a little undeserving that I won that, but some of these matches are definitely pretty insane on my end. So we get another fighter lead here, which is super good for Pidgeot. They bring in Ampharos and
watch out for my brutal swing, you puny little bug.
I will shield, and what I am going to do about it?
You little mark.
yeah, we're not really too worried about this move, but look how much damage Trapinch does. It's actually kind of insane, right? So yeah, I actually built this Trapinch for some factions battle that I was having with my team a while ago, and I've never really showcased this in GBL. But Trapinch actually has a very high attack stat, and with the new move update, it got access to Scorching Sands. So before, Trapinch could only get Dig, which they did actually buff Dig a little bit in this update, but I think Scorching Sands is actually a better move for Trapinch now. So between Mudshot, Scorching Sand, and Crunch, this Pokemon can actually spam pretty fast and hit hard. It just is still a frail Pokemon at the end of the day. But yeah, for the most part, I had a lot of fun running it in these battles. And in this final, I had enough energy to just go for the double Brave Bird. That was actually really close still. I almost got bubbled down. So yeah, we were very fortunate for that. In this battle, we actually get a Stunfisk lead, and I decided to safe swap into my XL Trapinch. And they do not respect the Trapinch at all here. Look how much that does. I mean, yeah, that's like, I'm sure my opponent probably just had no idea what was going to happen. So they bring in the Talonflame here, and even these crunches, 2 crunches from Trapinch against Talonflame are going to seal the deal. We do get the defense drop, which really isn't going to matter that much. I mean, I'm just going to let it go. Actually, it does kind of matter, because now I can just bring in Pidgeot and try to farm down, which, you know what, actually, that was actually really insanely good for us. They end up having Swampert in the back, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the Feather Dance. They still have the Stunfisk at 1 HP, so they could potentially try to remove these debuffs, but they were at 2 shields. I figured they're not going to not shield, so I'll just go for Feather Dance. They do end up switching in the Stunfisk. Fortunately, we don't fall for it, and we get off our Feather Dance on the Swampert, and then we have our Buzzwole in the back, and that's pretty much a GG at this point. I find it interesting that these Swamperts throw Earthquake on Buzzwole. Maybe they don't realize that Bug resists ground, and going for Hydro is actually the better play here. But yeah, so in this next one, I mean, Celebi, this is already looking pretty good for us, but never want to underestimate your opponent. So I actually feel like this is not the optimal way to play this match. I decided to like try and get a shield, which again, probably would have been better just to insta-swap to Trapinch, knowing that I would just outpace typically in this matchup. And I just go for the Crunch because I know it will be enough to knock out Arcanine, and it is a little bit less energy than going for Scorching Sands. So in comes the Celebi. We are going to be able to get the shield, and at this point we have 2 shields. This is super good. I mean, I'm just going to let Trapinch go, and I'm fairly confident that Pidgeot actually just farms down Celebi here. And then in comes the Machamp, and it is just a complete wreckage here from us to our opponent. I mean, Pidgeot actually did a lot of work. I'm not typically a fan of running Pidgeot, like Pokemon that typically don't have much coverage, but honestly, Pidgeot did a lot of work in these battles. So they have Obstagoon, and they build up a little bit of energy, try to preserve it. Try to waste my energy, maybe trying to catch a move on their Lilligant there, but I end up just farming a lot more energy. They end up having Togamaru in the back, and fortunately for me, Buzzwole is looking super clutch in this match, so I decided to just switch in Trapinch to put on a little bit more offensive pressure against the Togamaru, and then in comes the Obstagoon. I'm going to go for Scorching Sands just to either get a shield or attack drop. It's not a guaranteed attack drop, just so you know. But at this point, it's GG. I mean, Buzzwole resists the Night Slashes, and I mean, I shielded the first one. I probably should just let it go through. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I guess in case it could have been a gunk shot. So yeah, I already knew if it was going for another move, that was definitely another Night Slash. But yeah, GG's there. So that's our very first set, and I actually do get my Dex entry Carbink here. I didn't play GoFest this year, not even the global one. So I'm pretty hyped that I actually got a Carbink relatively fast in this push. So yeah, let's just jump into our next battles here. And we are going to get a Venusaur lead. So I will admit that we definitely had some very favorable leads in some of these battles. In comes the Altaria. Altaria is actually kind of a problem. Alone Ninetales Altaria for this particular line. I mean, granted, if you're new here, I am someone that's hit Legend a bunch of times in the game. I haven't been playing too much the last 2 seasons, but typically when I play GO Battle League, I like bringing in Spice teams. And I've definitely proven that I can hit Legend playing the game how I like to play it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm showcasing in this entire video, is that this team's a little spicy. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you as a battler, especially if you're a new battler, to try this out. But if you're someone that likes a challenge and you might have access to Trapinch, again, it has to be an XL Trapinch, Hundo maxed out, and even then it only reaches a mere 1458 CP. You can definitely catch a lot of your opponents off guard, because in my opinion, I think Trapinch is actually better than even Flygon in Great League. But yeah, I mean, this team's a little spicy, but at the same time, I think between it being fun and also when we do get the wins, it's just really impressive to see Trapinch actually wreck some of our opponents. But yeah, in this battle, it's pretty much GG. I think alignment definitely caused this opponent to kind of struggle to try to retain any momentum back in this fight. All right, Charlie boy, what do you got here? So this one was actually kind of, this was a very interesting battle. Bruxious is gonna use Psychic Fangs here to lower my defense. I decided to take the first one. I didn't think it would be too much of an issue. I will just throw the Feather Dance. I mean, I almost wonder if it would have been better to save my energy, but the fact they did shield, I would say that's a good situation. I'm going to bring in Trapinch and assume that my opponent's also going to go for Psychic Fangs. And I'm going to just try to farm down. And this is kind of a strange play on my end. I guess I wasn't really sure what to do. So I decided to just stay in and go straight for farm down, save my energy. I am able to get the Scorching Sand off to get the final shield on Excadrill. And I would say that this is actually a really good scenario overall now, because Buzzwole honestly isn't too worried. I knew this was a drill run based on the counts, so I know I can take a drill run to the face. And in comes the Ninetales. I wanted to build up a little bit of energy, probably not necessarily important that I did, but I wanted to at least preserve my Buzzwole as much as I could. And I got very lucky that my Pidgeot was able to barely live and gust down the Ninetales. So yeah, GG's there. This battle we get an Ozzy lead, which isn't good or bad here. I'd say it's pretty neutral. We could try to play a bait game here. We are going to shield one, so I'm going to try to build up a little bit of extra energy, but I'm actually just going to go straight Brave Bird at this point, making him think I'm going to try to go for 2 Feather Dances, and thankfully they don't call they don't shield here, excuse me, and I end up just completely obliterating this Ozzy. Alolan Sandslash is another Pokemon this team will struggle with. Fortunately, they just stay in here for some reason, and we just completely wreck the Sandslash with counter. I mean, arguably I probably should have never even switched out there. I mean, I maybe should have just even let my Pidgeot die to be safe, but yeah, I mean, because most of the Sandslash are running a ghost move, so they kind of have to throw energy to win. But yeah, we end up just getting very lucky with how it played out. I'd say my opponent probably was nervous and didn't know exactly what to do properly, but Medicham in the back isn't going to be much of a problem. We're pretty much just preserving our Pidgeot, and we're going to try to finish off the game here with Trapinch with a Crunch. Doesn't do enough damage, but that's fine because it leaves Medicham at a range where we just come in with Pidgeot and we should be able to Gust and win. GG. Oh yeah, I'm rocking the Lantern right now too. Normally when I play, I don't really rock my legend poses. I like the, unless you know who I am, I feel like most people will underestimate when they don't see a legend pose and then I'm running something like a Trapinch. I mean, unless they're looking at the CP, some people might even think that this is just a regular Trapinch that I caught in the wild, not competitively built Trapinch. But yeah, Charmers also can pose quite a problem for this team. Fortunately, we are in a pretty decent scenario where they don't shield at all, and they have the Hitmon top left, and that's fine because they kept it in a decent amount at the beginning of the fight where we were able to chip a decent amount with Gust. I decided I'm just going to bring in the Buzzwole, trying to risk that they might not go for Stone Edge. They do actually have the Ice move. I take it, in comes the Marsh Stomp, and it's pretty much GG at this point. I mean, funny enough, Marsh Stomp can't even remove Buzzwole with the attack drop because they're just going for Mud Bomb there. I do end up deciding just to shield. I didn't have to shield there, I could just farm Pidgeot, but I was like, whatever, I'll just shield and farm down at that point. Alright, in this fight we get a Battle of the Birds, Talonflame versus Pidgeot. Also, if you're watching this video, definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing. You definitely have to give a like here for our XL Trapinch. If you've watched this far, then you must be enjoying the battles somewhat. And I really would appreciate the support because it does help my content reach a wider audience here on YouTube. And it's definitely been a minute since I've posted a Pokemon GO Battle League battle here on the channel. So yeah, this match, Greninja, I figured these were Night Slashes, but yeah, we can take some Night Slashes. In comes Kartana. I mean, this person must just be new, trying to use some Pokemon that they caught recently because, yeah, they're not really going to be able to stand up against Buzzwole with that back line, unfortunately. Buzzwole is just too strong for them. So that's another 5-0. I mean, granted, it's pretty easy. I mean, excuse me. It's not easy. It's early in the season. But yeah, I'd say some of these battles are a mixture of people who know what they're doing and maybe people who are just lobbying for fun. In this battle, we get the Charizard lead. I'm going to take the first Dragon Claw because I already know that we're going to struggle against this Pokemon. So I want to try to preserve my shields if I can. They end up making a switch here into Steelix. Very interesting call. And I'm going to take the first Psychic Fangs, and I'm going to build up a little bit of energy, go for a superpower. More than likely, they're not going to shield this. And I was hoping I would be able to get to my second superpower, but because of our defense drop, we really can't take that attack damage from Charizard. I think that was a Wing Attack one also, so that's one of the reasons why Buzzwole just got wrecked so fast there. Being 4 times weak to flying, of course. If it was Fire Spin, maybe we could have gone off the superpower. But yeah, now we can just straight up go for Brave Bird here. They don't shield, and that's just game. Pretty lucky for us because that would have been kind of scary to deal with Trapinch in the back. Alright, another Battle of the Birds here. We got our Mandibuzz versus Pidgeot. So this could look very scary for our team, but interesting enough, Mandibuzz is a flying type that doesn't really scare us as much because typically they run Snarl as their fast attack, and being a dark flying actually makes it so Buzzwole can still chip a decent amount of damage against this Pokemon. But fortunately, we're just in a scenario where we can just switch into Buzzwole and farm down with Mandibuzz's little bit of HP that's left. In comes Medicham, go for lunge right off the bat. I decided not to shield, but it ends up being... Oh no, I shield this first one, not wanting to take a Psychic, and they make a great call and bait me, and I guess I should have known better. I wasn't really counting much when I was playing, and they end up throwing Psychic here, which kind of scared me because I was like, whoa, wait, am I like screwed now? But then they brought in Registeel, and I realized, okay, we actually might just completely wreck now, because Registeel doesn't, I mean, they don't respect Trapinch, I'm telling you. Like, that's actually absurd how much damage this little Trapinch does. But yeah, at this point, I wasn't too concerned because I knew that we probably were going to outpace the Medicham and just remove it with Crunch. So yeah, that was actually super beneficial for us to be able to farm that little bit of energy on Registeel there. So yeah, GG's. In this next match, we end up getting Gardevoir, and it looks like it's the Charm variant. So whenever we get a Charm lead with Pidgeot, I usually just try to stay in and go for the Feather Dance, because even if they have a little bit of an attack edge on us early, we can usually try to leverage it with the attack drop. And they end up bringing in Ivysaur, so I decided to switch into my Buzzwole, and I wanted to build a little bit of extra energy. That way I had 2, or at least close enough to 2 lunges for whenever Gardevoir first came in. So we only need 2 more counters, and we go for the lunge on Gardevoir. Are they going to shield, or are they going to let it go? They do end up shielding, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Trapinch and go for a farm down. I'm going to commit a shield, and I'm pretty much banking that Trapinch with 2 attacks will be able to knock out the back line. They end up bringing Primeape, and look how much damage the Scorching Sands does. It just almost completely removes Primeape. That's insane, yo. Like, wow. I mean, I know Primeape's not the most defensive Pokemon, but yeah, I just find that insane. So in this match, our backline can deal with Stunfisk relatively good, but I'm actually going to use my Trapinch as a safe swap, not really knowing what to expect from my opponent. And here's another case of our opponents just not really... Oh, wait, okay, no, this one actually, they actually do respect Trapinch. But we got the attack drop, so that's kind of clutch. And the interesting thing is, we actually are able to outpace, because I think they were trying to go for Earthquake. They let the Stunfisk go. We go for Scorching Sands here on Sylveon. Look how much damage that's doing. And now we can wait at the timer a bit. We're going to bring in Pidgeot, and then there's a Charizard in the back. We're very, 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 very lucky that this is in fact a Dragon Breath Charizard and not Wing Attack or Fire Spin. I legitimately feel this is the only reason why we have a chance. And I think them knowing that they're not going to be able to make it to the Blast Burn, which is what we were hoping on this switch in, is that we can just force them to go for an attack. But as you can see, they actually could have gotten to a Blast Burn. I mean, I guess in a way I was like thinking, well, I'll just preserve my energy then and try to save it for Sylveon. So in a way, like, I kind of messed up there too, but yeah, I just try to take advantage of them going for the Dragon Claw right off the bat. Very close in the end, but yeah, GG's. Alright, so Trapinch here, watch how much this is going to do. Over half, get the defense drop, which really will only matter if I bring in something to farm down. At this point, we can get another crunch off. We should get the shield here. They're going to go for a Surf, and I'm just going to let my Trapinch go. I wanted to actually see how much does a Surf do here, and it is enough to just remove it, so I was like, alright, whatever. And now I'm going to just bring in Buzzwole, because I want to try to get a little bit of energy lead. They bring in their Stunfisk for some reason. I guess the way I was looking at this is, even if they bring in their other Pokemon that is good against Buzzwole, we probably can just win with Buzzwole with energy in the end. But yeah, they end up having Trevenant, which is even better for us, because I don't think they played this backline correct at all. They just kind of made it so I can align perfectly and just wreck them. But I do feel like Buzzwole against Trevenant has play, and if they brought in Trevenant on my Buzzwole, I would have switched to Pidgeot, they would have switched in Stunfisk, and then it would have been a situation where I just try to farm down Stunfisk for energy and hope that I can just throw enough lunges against Trevenant. But yeah, kind of a mistake on my opponent's edge. They just kind of threw the match there at that point. GG's. And with that, I'm pretty sure that's my last 5-0, so that's 15-0 here in this set, which is pretty crazy. Another card bank. And again, if you enjoyed these battles, definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It really does help my content reach a wider audience here on YouTube. And with that being said, the Sass Squad is getting stronger each and every day. You have a good morning, evening, afternoon. If you're tuning in, I'll catch you in the next one.